What's going on, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the All Sports All Plays Network. This is Sportsstatus, the Sportsstatus podcast. On today's episode of Sportsstatus, we're going to be talking a lot of NBA as the Milwaukee Bucks are going to take on the Atlanta Hawks later this evening. Also, for their game one of that series. Also going to be talking a lot of NHL as the Tampa Bay Lightning are looking to close this off against the New York Islanders. Probably not as much as the NBA, but there is some things to cover there. It's a little bit of a preview show for today. And also the very last segment of the day before we close this off. Is a little bit of a live reaction and a post game to what's going on over in soccer, actually. Euro 2020, as some games on that side of things happened earlier today. So to get things started on the NBA side, Milwaukee Bucks, as I said earlier, are going to play the Atlanta Hawks. Now, Milwaukee, they got up to this point because in game one, they pretty much, outside of game one of the first round, Milwaukee pretty much blew out the Miami Heat. They won in overtime in game one, but the rest was pretty much a blowout. Throughout the regular series season, they traded for Drew Holiday, which has been pretty much a big piece, a big piece for this Milwaukee Bucks team. They also traded for PJ Tucker at the trade deadline. They spent this entire season mainly focusing on different lineups and styles for the opponents that they played against, and it worked, obviously, because they're in the conference final round. The Nets. Now, I will say this, as even though they pretty much blew out the Miami Heat in Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, it wasn't, going into the Nets, I really think that if the Nets had a healthy lineup, they probably would have only won one game against the Brooklyn Nets. They probably would have won maybe Game 3. Now, they were dealing with injuries. Like I said, they lost James Harden in the first game, and they lost Kyrie Irving in the second. To be honest, Kyrie Irving is what especially hurt them. Kevin Durant, yes, he went off in Game 6 after Kyrie Irving got hurt. But Game 7 is really what showed. Even though James Harden did come back, he did not come back 100% in Game 7. I think that's really why Milwaukee moved on. Because it wasn't really more of Milwaukee beating Brooklyn. It was more of Brooklyn beating themselves up due to injuries. And now they're looking to trade Kyrie Irving, is what I heard. I haven't looked much into it, but Kyrie Irving could be on the trading block this offseason. Now, with Atlanta's been impressive. Let's just say that. Because even though it wasn't a surprise that Atlanta came out on top against the New York Knicks in round one, I thought it was going to be more than. I thought it was going to take more games than it did. New York Knicks only won game 2 of that series. But that's it. I thought it was going to be more like a 7-game series instead of 5. Now you go into the series against the Philadelphia 76ers. I didn't think that was going to be a surprise. I said this before on the ASAP network. I am not going to give a game prediction because I was keeping an eye on Embiid's injury. We really started to see it when the Atlanta Hawks won their game 3. Well, it really was when it was game 5. Joel Embiid, because of his injury, did not do really well. I mean, yeah, he put up double-digit points, but nobody on that Philadelphia 76ers roster gave up more than, outside of Tobias Harris, scored more than 20 points. Ben Simmons had a terrible series last year. I don't think there's been one game out of the 7-game series where Ben Simmons scored more than 10 points. Game 7, I think he scored about 4. So Ben Simmons, he needs to go. He needs to go, to be honest with you. I'm going to give a quick scoring update throughout this show. Some things going on over on the MLB side. So far, there hasn't been a change in score of what I've been posted up there, but there's 3 games currently going up right now. Now looking at Atlanta. Atlanta had Trae Young, to be honest. He's the first NBA player to have 20 points and 7 assists in 12 consecutive playoff games. That's impressive because not only was it 12 consecutive playoff games, but it was his first ever 12 playoff games that he's played in. Trae Young, there's no argument about it, but Trae Young is a superstar in the making. What can he do 10 years from now? 5 years from now. What can you do 10 years from now? What can you do 2 years from now? What can he do next year if he's great now? Now it just does leave me with a question. Does Atlanta have what it takes to stop this Milwaukee Bucks team, to slow down Giannis Antetokounmpo, to slow down, does the Bucks have what it takes to slow down Trae Young? Now, I'm going to give my quick scoring prediction in this. I think Atlanta is going to win game 1. I think Atlanta is going to win game 2. But I think Milwaukee's going to take the next 4 games. So, Bucks in 6 is my prediction, because looking back at the last series, the Brooklyn Nets won the first 2 games, but I think the Bucks took those first two games to figure out a game plan for this Brooklyn Nets team. I think they're going to do the exact same thing with Atlanta. Take those first two games, but then completely sweep them after that. So to move on, that's my prediction for today. I think Atlanta's going to win tonight. Now, could be wrong. If that's the case, I'll eat my humble pie on that. But moving on and talking some hockey. So the next, so Tampa Bay Lightning are currently playing the New York Islanders. This being their game 6 of tonight. Now, there's not much I have to say on this series, but if the Islanders win this series, they will have they will have to do something that has not been done for 2 years for the Tampa Bay Lightning team. And that is beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2 back-to-back series. They have not done it last year. I mean, no team has done it last year. No team has done it this year. So if the Islanders win this series, they will have to win this game and they will have to win the next game. To be honest, the way things are going, I don't think that's going to happen. For one, they're going to have to find some way to stop not Reggie Leash. Their top goaltender. I mean, their best goaltender. He's on an 8-game postseason streak for the number of goals that he being scored. Reggie Leash is the only person to have a better streak than this guy, which is he has 10 games. That record has been held back in the 70s. Let's say for a second that he scores today and he scores the next game. All it is, it has to take 2 games and that record would be tied. 2 more games. Now, to give a scoring prediction, I think the Islanders are going to lose this game. I think it's done. I don't think it's going to be 8-0 blowout like it was back in Game 5. I don't. How would they be able to score 8 goals in 2 back-to-back games? Especially after the work that they put in the first. If I had to give a scoring prediction, though, I think it's going to be very low. Maybe like a 2-1 or a 1-0. So I think this series is going to come to a close, and the Lightning are going to take it to make it be like a 6-game series. And face off the winner, Montreal and Vegas. So let's move on from this series and talk about the last segment of the last topic of tonight, as there's been actual scoring update, which I will update that in a second. There's been a Grand Slam home run in Major League Baseball. over the Phillies and Nationals game. So that would actually be updated in a second. Now, Group Euro 2020 playoffs are hitting. Playoffs are hitting for over on the soccer side of things. Playoffs actually start in 3 days. Now we almost know how everything's really going to work out in Group E. We know the standings in Group E, but we don't know. What we don't know is playoffs. Sweden is going to play an unknown team. Basically, they have to. Sweden will play an unknown team, and Spain will play Croatia. Slovakia is the only third place team that we know about that is eliminated from playoffs. Because they had the worst number of points in playoffs. I mean, they had the worst number of points in this bracket. Out of the other 5 third-place teams, Sweden, out of the other 5 third-place teams, we don't know how everything's going to land. But that will be determined in the next couple of games. Euro 2020. I'm pulling this up real quick. So Euro 2020 playoffs are going into this next couple of games. Portugal is playing right now against France. We'll know everything really today. Hungary has scored, and they're actually up 1-0 over Germany. Looking at some of these standings, so Group E's done, like I said. Now, the goal differential for Slovakia is a -5. And the goal differential for Hungary is a -1. Hungary has the worst goal differential in Euro 2020 out of Group F. So if they do slightly better than they're probably going to do slightly better than Slovakia, to be honest. If that's the case, the Czech Republic is probably going to make the playoffs. Ukraine, if it's currently sitting at where it is, Ukraine's going to make it. Maybe Switzerland's probably going to make it. The 2 that probably won't be able to make it would be Slovakia. Slovakia, we know it's not. And either Finland or Hungary. Which probably would be Finland. We don't have any comments actually on there right now. Sweden is currently sitting on the board with top on the scoreboard with 7 points, and Spain is currently sitting at 5 points. Slovakia is sitting at 3. And Poland is sitting at 1 point. Now, as Group F is continuing to play, Group F is continuing to play. France and Portugal still have not scored yet. If they end up with the tie, then Finland is probably. I would either see Finland's probably. I mean, not Finland. France is probably going to end up with the series clincher being the first seed in Group F. I'm sorry, Portugal, as score just happened. Portugal just scored over France. Now Portugal is currently up on top over France, 1-0. Really, even though there's these two games are okay, they just took back the Portugal just scored 1-0 over France. So after this game is over, we really will determine what is going to happen, what the series closer will be like. So that's all I have for soccer. That's all I have for hockey. That's all I have for basketball predictions. And stay tuned in for Saturday or next week, depending on how things go.